Have you ever stopped to think that the habits you cultivate every morning could be moving you away from God, even if unconsciously? Get ready for a surprising revelation. In today's content, we will explore 13 morning habits that displease God, practices that many of us follow daily without realizing it. This content has the power to transform your spiritual life in just a few minutes. Understand how seemingly harmless actions can undermine your faith, and how small changes can bring significant blessings. Stay until the end and discover how living according to divine principles can bring peace you may never have imagined. If you don't want to miss anything, subscribe to follow all the content. Let's get started. Neglecting the moment of gratitude. Imagine a serene morning where the first rays of sunlight shine through the window, illuminating everything with a soft, promising light. In this peaceful scenario, you are about to get out of bed, still immersed in the remnants of sleep. At this moment, you are faced with a choice that will set the tone for your day. Take a moment to be grateful or dive straight into the tasks that await you. This is a divine opportunity that we often miss. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, His love endures forever. Psalms chapter 107 verse 1. This verse is not just an invitation, but a call to recognize God's unceasing goodness in our daily routine. When we ignore this moment of gratitude, we are not only missing out on a healthy practice, but we are failing to recognize the one who is the source of all goodness and mercy. In addition to the spiritual aspect, gratitude has powerful psychological effects. Studies indicate that starting the day with gratitude can significantly improve emotional well-being. This activates parts of the brain associated with pleasure and reward, like comforting warmth on a cold day. Remember Job, whose life was turned upside down, but who still proclaimed, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job chapter 1, verse 21. Even in the midst of loss, Job found a reason to be grateful. This demonstrates not just resignation, but a deep reverence for God's sovereignty and provision, even when shrouded in mystery. I invite you to adopt a simple but transformative practice. Tomorrow morning, take a moment to sit in silence. Think about your blessings, no matter how small. Be grateful for the air you breathe, for the light of the day, for the food on your table. Give thanks for another day of life, and watch how this small gesture can not only transform your day, but possibly your entire life. When was the last time you really stopped to be grateful for something you considered small or routine? How did this impact your day? Share your experience in the comment. Complain when waking up. When you open your eyes in the morning, you face a critical choice. Welcome the day with gratitude or start complaining. Do everything without grumbling or disputing. Philippians chapter 2 verse 14 advises us. This verse is not just an instruction for harmony, but a principle for cultivating inner peace and relieving the heart of the weight of negativity. The first words or thoughts of the day have the power to shape your mood and influence your interactions with others. Psychologically, starting the day with a negative attitude can not only affect your mood, but also harm your mental health and productivity throughout the day. Imagine a scenario in which each morning begins, not with regret, but with recognition of the new opportunities each day brings. This simple choice can transform your daily experience, elevating your perception of life and strengthening your relationships. Even Jesus, when facing his greatest challenge, chose to submit to the Father's will without murmuring, demonstrating an unshakable faith in the divine plan, despite the imminent pain. So as we face each new morning, let us make the conscious choice to reject complaints and welcome each day with an open and grateful heart. How would your day change if you started each morning with a positive affirmation instead of a complaint? How would this practice affect your interactions with others? Share your reflections in the comments. Despise small joys. Not valuing the small joys of everyday life is closing our eyes to the subtle blessings that God puts in our path each day. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 18. This verse exhorts us to practice constant gratitude, recognizing and appreciating each moment, no matter how trivial it may seem. By despising simple pleasures, such as the warmth of the sun or the smile of a child, we fail to notice the daily manifestations of God's love. These moments, although small, are essential for our emotional and spiritual health, as gratitude is directly linked to happiness and satisfaction with life. Imagine starting each day by observing and appreciating these small graces. How could this transform your perspective on life? Jesus appreciated and highlighted small gestures and encounters, showing that the divine often reveals itself in what is simple and humble. So I challenge you to not just ignore these little joys, but to recognize them for the divine gifts that they are. In doing so, we strengthen our spiritual resilience and find joy even amid the pressures of daily life. Think about a small joy you've experienced recently. How can recognizing and valuing these moments change your attitude towards life? Share your experience in the comments. Ignoring helping others. Ignoring someone in need not only goes against the commandment to love others, but it also dims the light of compassion that should guide our daily steps. Bear one another's burdens and thus fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians chapter 6 verse 2. This verse is not just advice, but a direct call to action. Command to reach out to those in need. By indifferently passing by someone who is suffering, whether on the street, at work, or at home, we deny one of the most fundamental principles of the gospel. This indifference can harden our hearts and divert us from the path God has laid out for us, leading to hardening and emotional isolation. Remember the parable of the Good Samaritan, who, unlike other passers-by, did not ignore the victim on the side of the road. He not only stopped, tended the stranger's wounds, and arranged for his recovery. Jesus used this story to illustrate the true meaning of loving others. Our lives are filled with Samaritan moments, small and large, opportunities to extend a helping hand. Each decision to help is an affirmation of our faith and a reflection of the love of Christ that lives within us. These acts of kindness resonate into eternity, bringing light not only to the recipient, but also to our own souls. So as we begin each day, let us commit to not ignoring those in need. Let us be ready to help, aware that every gesture of love reflects God's love for us. When was the last time you had the opportunity to help someone? How did this act influence your life? Share your stories and reflections in the comment. Procrastinating commitments or prayers. Procrastinating our responsibilities or moments of communion with God is a violation of the principle found in Proverbs chapter 13 verse 4. The soul of the lazy desires and achieves nothing, but the desire of the diligent will be abundantly satisfied. When we put off appointments or prayers, not only do we disrespect our own time and that of others, we also fail to cultivate the discipline that strengthens our faith and lessens our stress and anxiety. Imagine yourself as a farmer who looks at the field and decides to postpone sowing. As the days pass, the seeds remain in the bag without ever finding fertile soil. The result? A lost harvest, not because of a lack of resources, but because of a lack of action. Likewise, every moment of procrastination is lost fertile soil where we could have cultivated something valuable. This habit of putting off can be especially harmful in our spiritual lives. The time of prayer is an opportunity to align ourselves with God, a chance to lay down our anxieties and receive peace from Him. Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7. To ignore these moments is to ignore the care that God is ready to offer. Therefore, let us begin each day not with the hesitation of procrastination, but with the determination to act. May each commitment and each moment of prayer be seen not as a burden, but as a precious opportunity for growth and communion with the Creator. How has procrastination affected your spiritual life or daily commitment? What can you do to improve? Share your ideas in the comment. Feeding on negative content. Starting the day feeding on negative content, whether on social media, the news, or any other source, is like starting the day on a diet that is toxic to the soul. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any virtue, and if there is any praise, think about it. Philippians chapter 4 verse 8. This verse offers us a guide for what we should allow into our minds and hearts, especially at the beginning of each day. Imagine your heart as a garden. Each morning, you have the choice to plant seeds, hope, kindness, and truth, or allow weeds of fear, anger, and hopelessness to grow. These seeds, small as they are, have the power to bloom throughout the day, affecting your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Jesus often retreated to solitary places to pray, ensuring that his mind and spirit were aligned with the Father's will, away from the turmoil of the world. Likewise, we must be intentional about what we allow to fuel our thoughts at dawn. Instead of starting the day with negative content, why not look for something that lifts the spirit? Perhaps a Bible passage, prayer, or even a brief meditation, and set the stage for your heart to flourish instead of wither. By doing this, you will be preparing your mind for a day full of peace and purpose. How does the content you consume in the morning impact the rest of your day? What could you change about your morning routine to better align your thoughts with what is pure and uplifting? Share your suggestions and reflections in the comments. Have you ever stopped to think about how news consumption can shape your mood in the early hours of the morning and influence your interactions throughout the day? It is crucial to recognize the impact that information absorbed early on can have on your emotional and mental state. Ask yourself, what steps can you take to ensure your mind is nourished with what is true, noble, and praiseworthy? What strategies do you adopt to filter what you consume and protect your state of mind? Share your ideas and reflections in the comments. Neglecting family time. Neglecting morning time with family can slowly erode the solid foundations on which our homes are built. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 teaches us, "And you, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the discipline and admonition of the Lord." This passage not only talks about the importance of guidance and discipline, but also highlights the need to provide constant time and attention. These are essential elements for strengthening family bonds and nurturing the emotional and spiritual well-being of our loved one. Now, imagine a morning where, instead of rushing and hurried goodbyes, there's a space dedicated to conversation, where each family member has the opportunity to be heard, to share concerns and joys. These moments are not merely routine, but seeds that, planted in the soil of family relationships, over time blossom into trust, closeness, and deep love. The Bible is full of examples of families who, despite their imperfections, found strength and comfort in the bonds cultivated through mutual presence and shared lives. By neglecting these precious moments, we risk creating distance and increasing the isolation and misunderstandings that, unfortunately, are so common in modern relationships. Therefore, may presence be a pillar in our family life. Let us not allow the demands and distractions of the world to steal the precious morning moments we can share with those God has entrusted us to love and guide. Each morning should be seen as a new opportunity to build a legacy of love, meaningful presence, and divine guidance in our homes. What would the impact on your family be if you dedicated more time to them in the mornings? What adjustments can you make to your routine to prioritize these precious moments? Share your ideas and commitments in the comments. Being greedy, avarice, which manifests itself as a heart closed to the needs of others, is a direct obstacle to the generosity which God calls us. For the love of money is the root of all evil, and some in their covetousness have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many sorrows. 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 10. This verse not only highlights the spiritual dangers of greed, but also reminds us that generosity has the power to free our souls and truly connect us with community and God. Imagine a life where every opportunity to give is seen as a burden, not a blessing. This perspective impoverishes both those who need help and the greedy person himself, who deprives himself of the joy that comes from sharing generously. The act of giving then becomes a channel of mutual blessing, enriching both the giver and the receiver. Jesus taught us that there is more happiness in giving than in receiving. Acts chapter 20, verse 35. This truth not only resonates in Scripture, but also in the depths of human experience. Generosity breaks the chains of selfishness and plants the seeds of a more loving, supportive, and united community. Therefore, let us examine our hearts and habits honestly. May greed not find fertile soil in our lives, but may each day be a new opportunity to open our hands and our hearts, giving generously and reflecting God's love and abundant provision for us. In what ways might greed be limiting your experience of joy and fellowship? Are there areas in your life where you can practice more generosity? Share a time when giving brought unexpected joy to your life in the comments. Giving in to discouragement. Allowing discouragement to take over your mornings is like taking a path contrary to the encouragement we find in Romans chapter 12, verse 12. Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, persevere in prayer. When discouragement invades us early on, it can dim the light of hope that God has implanted in our hearts, potentially leading us into a persistent depressive state. Imagine starting the day with a heavy veil of discouragement covering your heart and mind. This veil obscures the vision of the blessings and possibilities that each new day brings with it. Psychologically, this state can reinforce negative thought cycles, affecting our mental and emotional health, and preventing us from seeing and taking advantage of the opportunities that God places before us. Scripture offers us an alternative: perseverance in the face of adversity, a resilience that is rooted in faith and hope. Each morning, we have the choice to put on this perseverance, to reject discouragement, and to embrace hope that is not based on circumstances, but on the certainty of God's eternal and unchanging love. Let us wake up each day with the decision to combat discouragement, to cling to hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure, allowing us to be inspired by the constant presence of God in our lives, which promises strength and continuous renewal. How can you actively combat discouragement in your daily life? What practices or thoughts can help you stay focused on the hope God offers? Share your strategies or a testimony of how you overcame discouragement through faith in the comments. Failing to plan the day. Not planning your day properly is devaluing the precious gift of time that God has given us. Ephesians chapter 5 verses 15 and 16 warns us, "Therefore be careful how you walk, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." When we fail to organize our day, we often end up wasting opportunities God gives us for growth, service, and testimony. Imagine yourself as a builder tasked with building a house without a clear plan. Materials become scattered, work becomes chaotic and inefficient, and the result is disorganization and frustration. Likewise, without effective planning, our daily activities can become disorganized, compromising our ability to fully carry out what has been entrusted to us. Lack of planning not only leads to an unproductive day, but it also increases stress and anxiety as we are constantly reacting rather than acting proactively. This is not the abundant life that Christ promised us. He wants us to live with purpose and intention, making the most of the time we have been given. Therefore, let each morning begin with a moment of reflection and planning. Let us ask God for wisdom to order our daily priorities and strength to carry out each task with diligence. May our planning be not just an exercise in organization, but an expression of faith and an act of obedience to the divine call to live wisely and with purpose. How could more intentional planning transform your day and increase your effectiveness in serving God and others? What changes can you implement to ensure that each day is lived fully according to God's will? Share your thoughts and commitments in the comments. Superficiality in relationships. Superficial relationships directly contradict Christ's commandment. "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." John chapter 15 verse 12. When we choose to keep our relationships superficial, not only do we ignore Christ's command, but we also miss the chance to experience and share the deep love He has shown us. Imagine a tree with shallow, fragile roots. It may seem robust at first glance, but it lacks a solid foundation to withstand the storms of life. Similarly, superficial relationships may seem sufficient in times of calm, but fail to provide the necessary support in times of adversity. This superficiality can lead to isolation and loneliness, preventing us from achieving the true communion that reflects the intimate, transformative relationship God desires to have with us. From a psychological point of view, investing in deep relationships is directly related to our emotional and spiritual well-being. Research indicates that meaningful relationships increase our resilience to stress and improve our overall health. Therefore, we must see each interaction as a divine opportunity to plant seeds of deep and lasting love. Let us not be content with the superficiality that the world often offers, but let us seek to cultivate relationships that reflect the unconditional love of Christ, who knows and loves each of us deeply and truly. How can you cultivate greater depth in your relationships to truly reflect the love of Christ? Is there a relationship in your life that needs more attention and care to grow in depth and meaning? Share your thoughts and plans in the comments. Neglecting spiritual discipline. Neglecting spiritual disciplines such as meditation, prayer, and Bible study is a direct rejection of the call in 2 Peter chapter 1 verses 5 and 7, which urges us to supplement our faith with virtue, knowledge, self-control, perseverance, and godliness. Without regular practice of these disciplines, our faith can stagnate and our connection with God weaken. Imagine a plant that is never watered or exposed to sunlight. Over time, it withers and eventually dies. Likewise, our spiritual life requires constant nourishment through practices that connect us with God and strengthen our faith. Psychologically, regularly engaging in spiritual practices not only strengthens our emotional resilience, but also sharpens our perspective on life, making us better able to face adversity with hope and courage. Each day that we neglect these practices is a missed opportunity to draw closer to God, who is the source of our strength and hope. This choice impacts not only our spiritual well-being, but also all areas of our lives, as faith plays a crucial role in our mental and emotional health. Therefore, let us recognize the vital importance of maintaining a routine of spiritual discipline, not as an obligation, but as a privilege that allows us to live more fully in the presence of God and grow according to His will. How has the regularity of your spiritual practices influenced your daily life and your resilience in the face of challenges? Are there aspects of your spiritual discipline that need revitalizing or strengthening? Share your experiences and commitments to improving your spiritual life in the comments. Wasting talents and resources. Failing to use the gifts and resources that God has given us is dishonoring the divine expectation revealed in the parable of the talents in Matthew chapter 25 verse 14 and 30. This parable is more than a simple story. It is a call to act with responsibility and purpose. Wasting our talents and resources not only dishonors God, but it also prevents us from reaching our full potential and contributing effectively to the community and God's kingdom. Imagine that every talent and resource you possess is a God-given tool designed to build, create, and promote good in your life and the lives of others. When these tools become unusable, the world loses some of its luster. Contributions that could have been made remain invisible, and the purpose that could have been fulfilled remains unfulfilled. Psychologically, activating and utilizing our talents not only elevates self-esteem, but also promotes a deep sense of fulfillment and purpose. This practice doesn't just benefit us individually, it also enriches those around us by reflecting God's love and generosity through our actions. Therefore, let us see our talents and resources not just as mere possessions and abilities, but as sacred gifts entrusted to us by God. May each day be an opportunity to invest these gifts in glorifying God and serving others, thus fulfilling the divine purpose for our lives. What talents or resources have you been neglecting? How can you begin to use them in a way that honors God and contributes to the well-being of your community? Share your ideas or action plans in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and follow the next content.